Welcome to Spiritual Inspirations with Malak. Thank you so much for joining me on this particular broadcast. Very thankful to be alive, to have life, health, and strength. And just want to talk to you today about a particular subject that has been on my mind. And I'm sure after you hear it, those of you who are melanated people have at least asked yourself this question at least once in life. If not, you will get there. And what we want to talk about is, we know that in times past, our people, melanated people, I want to speak concerning melanated people around the globe or around the world, however you like to state that. At one time, we were a people of great spirituality and great power, and we were the people who created. We were the people who educated. We were the people who had civilization. And if you do some research and some study on the background of non-melanated people versus melanated people in times past, I'm not talking about in the latest 2 centuries, but if you go back further than that, you'll find that melanated people around the world or around the lands had the knowledge, and that knowledge somehow, I shouldn't say the knowledge, well, knowledge as well. The knowledge and the power and the spirituality of melanated people all over the world suddenly changed. And when I say suddenly, I don't mean in an instant. I mean that inside of 1 or 2 generations, everything changed. And so I often ask myself, how did melanated people from around the world lose their power? Where did we, and I'm speaking of forefathers or ancestors, along with ourselves today, where did we go wrong? How were the non-melanated people able to overthrow the people of great stature, power, spirituality, and knowledge from those days past? And so as I go around talking to different ones here on the continent of Africa, as well as people who I actually, visit their channels and listen to their research and then verify their research. And there's a theme. Also, my knowledge comes from, I did go to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and I graduated with a sociology degree and a degree in African studies. So I'm not just speaking off the cuff. There is a lot of study and knowledge and research that I have done, and to try to put all these pieces together, because those that are now in power did a masterful job in creating a jigsaw puzzle. When you're trying to put a puzzle together, all the pieces are mixed up. And it is your job to find all the pieces, put them back together in order to create whatever that puzzle is supposed to look like. So they did a masterful job in doing so. I can tell right now this video is probably going to end up into many parts. I don't want to hold you long as we make this discussion. But I think it's one that is important because one thing that I have come to know is that if you don't understand where you came from, it's very hard to navigate where you are going. And so I wanted to start out with something that is very basic knowledge, and that is when we had the kingdoms around the world, whether it be in Africa, whether it be in the Americas, and even in Europe. A lot of people think Europe has just always been non-melanated people, but Europe was ruled by melanated people. Even China and Russia and all these places, their start was not non-melanated people. You just need to do the research on it and you will see what I'm saying. I cannot sit here and do a exhaustive research and give you all the aids for you to go and do research. Research is all about the hunt, finding out where things are and how to access them. When someone gives you everything for you to go step by step by step, you're literally following the pattern of that researcher. You may find that you are able to discover even more by doing the research on your own. Unfortunately, a lot of people are unwilling to do the work. They would like most of the work to be done by somebody else, and then they confirm. No, that is not research. That is just verification. So I want to talk about what happened. As we were in our individual kingdoms all over, the non-melanated people were at war from the caves and the mountains of the Caucasus areas of Europe and Asia. And they had been literally destroying each other, killing each other, until a particular time when they realized that they were about to annihilate each other. They came together and began to decide to go out to conquer the known world, that they might discover or occupy what they did not know, or the unknown world. So they came to Africa. And in so doing, they discovered that there was a common thread among the Africans, the melanated people. And in many cases, they sought how to exploit the African, the melanated man and woman. And these people were and are still people of war. And when you are a people of war, you are ruthless. You are killers. You are murderers. And why do I say that? Because not only do you kill the soldiers or those who protect their lands and their kingdoms, you kill the innocent women and the children as well. Killing another soldier in war, that is war. But when you start killing the women and the children who are not fighting against you, that is murder. And so that is why I said that. And so these things are the characteristics of this non-melanated people. And so they came in, but they discovered something that they chose rather to exploit than coming forward in just total battle and war. And here's where we began to see how we started losing our power. And unfortunately, for the African and for the melanated man, woman, boy, and girl, they had not seen people with what we call skin absent of melanin. I don't mean the African albino. I mean what we would call Caucasian. And this was very, I guess, challenging to their vision, challenging to their understanding of what people really supposed to be like or look like. And you can imagine never seeing, just like there's occasions where the non-melanated people see a melanated person for the first time and they can't help but just stare and look. And so there was an awe factor. But one thing I found out in some of the interviews I've done here with some elders is that our ancestors warned the younger generation that men were coming and they had skin that looked white as snow. And so they were warned that if they didn't deal with these people properly, that they would be overthrown. And so even with the warning, we found that without question, the ancestors were right. And so they exploited something that is very common among melanated people, and that is their kindness. We find when Black people are, or melanated people are left to be able to have their own societies, have their own culture, have their own ability to live their life without the interruption of those who would bring stress, oppression, and all kinds of turbulence within the community, that our people have a kind heart and a kind disposition and characteristic. They decided this would be the way that they would exploit and they would take over and conquer the melanated man. And through our kindness, this was an avenue to be able to get in and befriend us in disguise as a friend, knowing full well what their intentions were. They began to implement these types of plans. And seeing that the cultural spaces, that the way the melanated people chose to live, and seeing the things that they had and the things that they did not have, the non-melanated people sought to take advantage of these particular things that they noticed. Though Africa and many other lands around the world have great resource, and of course the non-melanated people later on found out that these things existed, which prompted them to want to overthrow and overtake the melanated people even more once they found that out. But the melanated people desire to have what the non-melanated people had began to build up in them. And so when they saw certain items, you know, when I was in the university, one of the things that was very noticeable to me in how the European or the non-melanated people were able to conquer the melanated people was the fact that they discovered steel, gunpowder, and they had a very bad germ issue. And so through guns, steel, and germs, they were able to come into the continent and overthrow it with many things as an illusion to the people while they yet conquered. Okay? And so through kindness and a desire to have something that you don't necessarily have yourself, these people came in displaying a power that we now are very familiar with. Guns, with steel, you make bullets, and with the gunpowder, you're able to develop the gun so that you can shoot bullets and begin to overthrow your enemy. Whether we had swords and spears and other abilities to do things, but some of that ability was based on proximity of how close we can get to our enemy, where now they could be far off and begin to deploy their weapon or weaponry against us, or against the African at the time, or against the people who call themselves the first inhabitants of a particular land, indigenous titles. These same things were used even in Americas. These same tactics were used. And so this is how they exploited, as well as how they attacked the people to be able to come in. But again, unfortunately, sometimes when you're the younger generation, you tend not to want to hear the elders. At that time, we now would call them our ancestors because they're long past. Because the elders, the ancestors of that day, I should say the elders of that day, which we would consider the ancestors today, warned the younger generation of what was coming. But the desire to have something that they were not used to, and their kindness, allowing yourselves to be rubbing shoulders and elbows with your enemy and not knowing that they are your enemy, because they smile in your face, stab you in your back, and before you know it, everything you once had belonged to them. And so they also use bribes and manipulation. When you see things of value and you feel that it will help you get ahead, sometimes you let what we consider morals, that good character, the thing that makes you neighborly, the thing that makes you a good person, those things tend to be set aside in order to obtain those things of value that you feel that will get you ahead in life. Well, they came utilizing that tactic, and this is why I believe that tactic has been copied in many of the lands of the melanated people. That's why you still see the bribery that goes on, especially here on the continent. And it happens everywhere, even in the US, it happens in South America, it happens everywhere. But here, it just seems to be that it's very common. Generally, other places been to or talked to people from other lands, it's a little less subtle than what you see here. People tend to use these tactics, and so they use bribery and manipulation to gain access, and they always went to rulership or leadership to manipulate and bribe them first. If they could get them, then they could get the people which they ruled. And so these are the beginnings of some of the things that took place, how we as melanated people were overthrown. Even with all the power and knowledge that we had, we have to be careful about how we entertain strangers. It reminds me of a Bible verse, but in another way. Because not all strangers are angels. And so, as we can tell, as a result, we see where we are today. And we're nowhere near standing in the power of our ancestors because we entertained strangers in a way that did not benefit us. So, with that being said, manipulation tactics was basically employed into our people, and before you know it, we were being attacked more from a spiritual warfare as well as some physical. Don't get me wrong, the physical happened, but they decided that they would attack the spirituality of the melanated people so that they could not only take the lands and the resources, but also be able to control them in the future. And so the manipulation was very real. They manipulated the younger generation, and they killed off the ancestors, those who had the power and knowledge. And because of that, this knowledge and the powers that the melanated people have operated in for who knows how long, the time of the ancient days, that they were able to do things that inspire Disney and inspire Marvel and all these people to make these superhero type of movies and comic books and animations and things of this nature, came from the ancestors, the time of the ancestors, when they moved in their spirituality, they moved in their power. And so once they were able to get the ancestors and the elders to die off, they began to pull certain people who were supportive and in favor of what they were doing and teaching, and they would take them away and they would miseducate them and then bring them back among the people so that they can now influence and manipulate more people. And over time, then everyone forgets about the days of the ancestors, forgets about the knowledge that was once a part of their living, their culture, and now all that is going to be known from that point on to the future is what the non-melanated people, we call it the West today, have infiltrated to give you miseducation in spirituality, miseducation in what we call education today, all to do what? Control the mind. You control the mind, you control the spirit, you control the body. And therefore now when you try to ask many people, they have no memory, no concept of what used to be, whether on the continent of Africa, in the Americas, as far as the black or the melanated occupation of Europe and Asia, most of that knowledge and history, it is very hard to uncover because they've done such a masterful job in covering it up and changing history and taking credit for all of the inventions, the technology, the knowledge, and they, in many cases, they took this knowledge and this resources and these inventions and technologies and put their money behind it and used it to claim it as their own. Well, this has been part one of this discussion. Don't want to make this video too long, but hey, I hope you're waiting for part two, and we'll see if there'll be a part three. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inspirations with Malak. And please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And if you would like to donate to help us support the work, help support the work that we're doing here to bring you knowledge and to uncover those hidden things that can bring our power back, that can restore our true spirituality. And we can do and move and operate like melanated people should have been operating the entire time throughout history. Please look in the description box or look and underneath here on this YouTube channel, and you'll see how you can donate, how you can assist us to continue to bring you great information. And hopefully those of you who are interested, you will be able to continue getting all the old out. And what I mean by old miseducation, and attach yourself back to spirituality and power. Until next time.